when my parents see me now, they see me happy with my choice. I think it changed in their own brain that, oh, maybe we were wrong of putting all that pressure. Because I went from being the ideal daughter-in-law who went to business school, who married at 26, to losing everything because we were about to sell the business. We were about to buy a home. Within weeks, he passed away, right? So I went from being that ideal daughter-in-law to now being a widow in her 30s who's a DJ and a producer. I mean, that's something I still can't wrap my mind around. With that pain comes a lot of beauty, and it takes growth to see the beauty in that, because if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be who I am today.
So please join me as I welcome today to the new season of theBLOcounsel, Mai Azarov.
Welcome to theBLOcounsel, where we talk about everything personal development and business development.
Yeah, so welcome again to season 3 of theBLOcounsel. Of course, you guys know already that we talk about personal development, productivity, and entrepreneurship. Today, I have an amazing guest, someone who I believe we are going to learn so much from, especially from the angle of personal development, the angle of transitioning, doing what you love and doing, connecting with yourself. She's, someone who I've known for some time, and I know that she's, easy to talk to and very personal. She's someone who, one of those people who, when they want to do something for themselves, they go for what they want. So please join me as I welcome today to the new season of theBLOcounsel, Mai Azarov. She's a DJ and producer based in San Francisco, but that's not all. I'm sure there's so much she's going to tell us today in this beautiful interview. So help me as I welcome Maite to the show today. Thank you. Maite, it's so good to see you. Thank you for joining me today.
Oh my God, the honor is all mine. We're opening season 3. Like, my God, this is really, really cool. And the fact that we go way back and that, 10 plus years later, we're catching up on where we're at. Quite a lot of subjects to cover for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's good to see you. How's the weather there? I know you're in San Francisco today. How is it like today there?
The weather of San Francisco is like you would expect. 1 minute it's hot, the second minute it's cold. You just never know what to wear, what to dress. like always carry a jacket, like they say. But we're lucky, to be honest, by the Pacific Ocean here. We can't complain. Yeah.
That makes. I know why I used to say that the air in San Francisco is, I don't know, it's just different from the other. Maybe it's just my feeling. I don't know. Have you felt the same way? I feel like the air we breathe in San Francisco is a little different from other places.
Well, absolutely. I think even me growing up in Paris, I'm not used to the Parisian pollution anymore because I'm so used to the ocean air breeze and everything that as soon as I land to my home city in Paris, I get allergic reaction, I get irritation, and so I think my nervous system and my body got used to the freshness of the California air for sure. I mean, at least San Francisco air quality. Yeah, we breathe well for sure.
Nice to be here. So well, so let's go into it. I want you to tell of course, tell me. I know a little bit about your background, but for the audience, I want us to lay a sort of foundation for the conversation so that at least the audience can know who you are, where you're from, maybe the types of schools you attended. Just want to know what has made Maite who she is today.
Oh wow. Oh wow.
Like,
Okay, I'll try to sum it up as much as possible. So, my name is Maite. I'm born and raised in Paris, France. I'm of Indian descent. My father arrived in France 40 plus years ago and made himself a businessman. So, I grew up in a very entrepreneurial family. I did all my education in France. I went to law school for a year or two until I realized that this was not for me. And so my father suggested that I try to study abroad in the US. We had relatives to our convenience living in California. The US system has a great institution called the City College, which is for people who are not sure what they want to pursue academically. So they get to try a bunch of classes and figure out what they want. So I moved to San Jose first, stayed there for 2 years to San Jose City College. Quickly figured out that I was meant for business. So took a bunch of business classes and then very quickly transferred for a bachelor's degree in business. And then going to Halt, where we met, did our MBA program in business administration with a focus on marketing, because I've always had a sensitivity towards marketing. Fast forward, worked in Silicon Valley, San Francisco, where you have a lot of startup culture happening here. Worked all the way through in my now late husband's startup. We were in growth marketing, hosting conferences and events to help marketers, CEOs, entrepreneurs on being on top of the latest marketing tactics for each year. And COVID happened. We couldn't host events, so we had to transition to online, and which was a very successful venture. The business was called Growth Blazer, so we would host webinars and curate one-on-one experiences for members with high, top-notch marketers in big companies here. And then fast forward, a big tragedy in my life happened, a sudden and unexpected death of my late husband during a work trip. So I wasn't there. And it's the kind of events in your life that makes you question everything, especially what do I want to do next, or how do I want to live next? And that epiphany came through as music for me, which is something in our culture, in my culture at least, the Indian culture, being an artist is not seen as a stable path, but desperate times calls for desperate action. And it seemed that music was the only thing that helped me navigate life. And so I thought, why don't I just give it a chance and pursue that all in and bet on myself? And I gave myself a year to prove that I could become a DJ. I have taken classes during COVID prior to that out of hobby. And because this was the only thing that I had the energy to do, I thought, let's make money out of it. 1 year in, I was able to book gigs. People somehow found me without trying hard. And that's when I felt that, okay, I'm exactly where I need to do. 2 years in, I was able to get residencies as some of the most exclusive clubs in SF, getting residencies in lounges and restaurants. And so, again, a validation that I am where I'm meant to be. And then this is now 2025, third year in, where I'm turning into music production, because as a DJ, that's just the next, logical step in the evolution of that. Until, who knows, next year I might do something completely different. Who knows? But that curious mind.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
No, say what you were gonna say.
No, I was just going to add that who knows? Maybe next year you would have some people you'll be producing for. Who knows? So maybe
Who knows?
Production, the production business side of being a DJ. Who knows?
Who knows? I'm definitely open and curious to what's next. Always, every day. It's not even a next year thing. I don't even think like this anymore, Babs. It's very interesting how the whole where do you see yourself in 2 years, 3 years? It's something that I, even in business school, by the way, I never was able to answer that question because I was too aware of the present that I had no clue. And sometimes it's very interesting being in a business school where you are taught, they teach you that you have to have some kind of career plan ahead, or that you have to be excelling in certain skills, because being a well-rounded person is not specific enough. But you also, I I was a well-rounded person, meaning I could do a little bit of everything just fine. I never had a specific thing. And in the system, the way it was set up was just inconvenient for me. So a lot of years being in school made me feel like, oh, how come maybe I'm not smart enough, or maybe I don't, fit the mold of what is expected from business students. But turns out that being a well-rounded person is actually helping me as an entrepreneur, as
Yeah.
someone who's just putting herself out there, because I'm doing everything right for myself. So it's actually not that bad to not even have a big plan ahead, but at least know where you see, next month or in 3 months or something.
And
Yeah.
then we make sure that we just get at least we do the best that we can every single day. We keep doing the best we can. And I think eventually it accumulates into that amazing future that we want to see
I mean,
over time.
it was to the point when I lost my husband during that time. It was to the point that I couldn't even tell you what I was going to do the next hour. I Because I realized that each minute that was passing by felt long, but at the same time passed by. And so when you understand that time works in a very interesting way. So I went from being able to not know what I'm going to do the next hour because how I don't know how I'm going to feel in my head and body, to understanding that you don't have to know exactly what you want to do. Just do it. Whenever the feeling is there, just act upon it. When the inspiration
Yes.
comes upon, grab it, do something with it, right? And that's how you don't even see time passing by, because you're so aware of what's coming in your mind and you're doing it, that the plan just unfold itself without you even having to know everything.
It's so interesting that you've put it that way, because just listening to you, I think of me being in business too, because there's usually the pressure of and like you said, business school, you have to be strategic about everything. You need to make all these plans. Yes, it's good to have an idea of what the future would look like, but I realized that you just there's a level of just letting things happen that
There is, but yeah.
go ahead,
But in your
please.
case, you have a team surrounding you, right? So you have a team that is waiting for your guidance as well. You rely on their expertise. Have a team surrounding you, right? So you have a team that is waiting for your guidance as well. You rely on their expertise and their instinct and everything, but there you are the core of all of this, right? So in my case, I don't have a team. I'm doing it all by myself. So I don't have that discipline. But when you end up surrounding yourself with the right people, which is so important, because having a team doesn't mean anything if they're not the right people. They are
Yes.
supposed to give you the space for you to have the vision as well, so that you know exactly what to tell them. Like, we need to do this, we need to work on that. I've seen the flip side of it at times, where when the team needed you for, and this is from my experience working in the startup ecosystem, where you see how team needed the 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 they needed help so much on the smallest task, that uh, the leader doesn't even have space to think big picture, right? Because
Mm.
thinking big picture for me is not about thinking the exact steps. It's really about envisioning. And this is where the role of vision comes in play, and imagination, and tapping into all those soft skills that are not
Yeah.
even put forth enough in business schools. Even the tapping into the feelings of how it looks like for the business when it takes off, and then starting from that, bringing it back down to, okay, now we're gonna bring down the steps and break it down. So
Absolutely.
surrounding yourself with the right people who allow you to feel and see the big picture, give you the space to even, you know, see that, so that we can all execute together. It matters. But in my case, I didn't have that, right? So I had, and not everybody has that luxury of taking time. I realize, because time is one of the most valuable asset that one can have, right?
Valuable.
Yeah, and I had a little bit of time and a little bit of money set aside for me to know, okay, for 1 year, I just have to do it right. And for me, doing it right meant taking the time to feel it through, to think this through, right? Not everybody has it, and I understand, and that's okay. We all have our own journey. Maybe you have some people will have to have a job on the side and find time to work on their dream projects. Everybody is different, but in my case, I knew that I needed to take time to think this through for myself and to feel this through for myself,
Hmm.
which is
That's
new.
so interesting. And before we even go somewhere, I was going to go into the business school side because when you mentioned, and I always say that many people want to go to business school, and I'm not discouraging anybody from going to business school. But I always say that for me, maybe the major thing I took out of business school was maybe the language of business, understanding the language, not necessarily how to run a business. They may use all these big words, and then I understand it because I've heard it somewhere in business school, and we've done all these case studies. So, but for you, what do you think was the takeaway for you? I just wanted to ask that from business school.
I
If
have
you look back,
I'll be very honest with you. I have a lot of gratitude for my experience in business school because of the people I met. Because I know that for me, the people, the network that I'm making, the connection that I'm building. I mean, I have connections thanks to how everywhere in the world. I know someone in any country that I go. I'm also thankful for some professors that namely Carrie Guitar, who was a woman in leadership class, and Professor Caring, another leadership class. Those were the two subjects that resonated the most with me because I felt that they were the most in touch with their humanness, right, and how it's connected to people. So
I agree.
I will forever be grateful for these classes. But the big bottom line is that, and it's very interesting because I live in an environment like the startup culture. They don't really look like that at your degree, right? Unless you're aiming for those big corporations. What matters is this: if you have some skills and if you have results, if you can prove me that you know how to do this thing, then that's all. So I and growing up in an Indian family, I'm aware that the whole thing about getting an MBA and going to school, it's more for the prestige of
Yeah.
the lineage, and to say my son or my daughter
I,
went to school, that's the bottom line. Today I can say that yes, it helped me be intelligent in terms of business and financial, developing a financial intelligence as well. And
yeah.
I can I would know how to do accounting. I would know how to do a little bit of everything, and but at the end of the day, you can learn these things online from everywhere, right? If you are hungry enough, you will find a way to learn how to do things without going to
No,
school.
even the way YouTube is nowadays, you can literally find anything on YouTube nowadays.
You can
Um,
find everything on YouTube. And I will never forget how the first year of going into our MBA program, how everybody is like dressed up in suits as if we're like something, like so important. And then at the end of the year, we're just like coming in our sweatpants and like what. And so there is this thing of the reality is like, do you need a business degree? No, you don't. You can learn everything online. Everything is so accessible. So it's
yeah,
just a matter of your motivation. It's always nice to say, "Oh, I have a degree and everything," but luckily, in the environment I'm in, people don't really care about it, and that was a big eye opener. I know in some other countries, even France, having a degree or this or that is a big prestige, and it's a nice thing to show up. But I also know a lot of people who have PhDs and spend a lot of money and time at school and who are still figuring out what they want to do in life.
absolutely.
So
And we see it in business too. Even and I think it's just like that everywhere. You have these hires. They have these nice degrees and all that. Yes, they may know all of this theoretical stuff, but they don't get you results. There's just some people, they may not have so much idea, but just because they want to make things happen and work.
Yeah.
They are the ones who always find solutions. So,
Yeah.
and I think personally for me, I look more towards that perspective. I want people who can get things done. Not,
Yeah.
because they can, if someone can get things done, they can learn whatever they need to learn to get it done. You know.
Yeah.
But then there's
And
other
but
people who know. Go ahead, please.
no, no, I'm saying I wanted to say at least at Halt where we went, we're lucky because the program is was agile enough to adapt to the new age of technology and stuff. I mean, we were getting into it, right? I wonder how it is in big established school. Where are they? How behind are they? Because it's such a fast, forward environment with AI, with everything. So you're learning as you go. I'm learning so much from what's happening from live news or from all the YouTubing that I'm doing about the future of AI, that I wonder if in school they are fast enough to catch up all the students on these.
Yeah, I can imagine. I can then, and I remember you said something about taking classes
Hmm.
to, like, just on the side to become a DJ. What's that like? I think it's the first time I'm hearing about taking classes to become a DJ.
Well, you
Like,
know how,
what's
yeah, COVID did that. A lot of people during COVID, because they had to stay home and figure out something to do, they started to go towards their hobbies, and they were doing things just to make them feel good, to pass time, whatever, but it was always hobby oriented. I think that period of COVID, as much as it was devastating, um, a lot of people were sort of forced to turn inward of, okay, let me find fulfillment outside of work. And music, DJing has always been something in the back of my mind for some reason. I don't even know. It was a dream that I didn't even dare to dream because it was so not an option at the time for me. But COVID happened, and I had this instinct of, you know what, I would like to do this. And I found this program, this DJ school online, and the equipment was fairly affordable, the class was doable. I thought, let me invest in that and fulfill that little dream. And I had the excuse of COVID, to do that. And
is that
turns
like a
out,
is it like a
yeah,
professor or something, or like someone took
it,
fees?
there was a teacher and there was a group of people. We were about 20 or something, and it was a six months program, or six. It was a long program, and we long hours, like 4 hours every week or something. And it was very hands-on, but most importantly, it was very activating for me. The moment I took that class, something happened inside where the excitement, the pleasure of showing up to class, the things that were time. I was not looking at time anymore. More, I was just so into it, that it was a very activating thing. Taking that class, I didn't know that it would propulse me into turning this into something professional, because at the time my husband was alive. It was just a hobby, right? And this is another thing that I want to say to people is, don't undermine your hobbies. um,
Hmm.
we just call it a hobby, but maybe what if this was the honeypot for you? Whatever you cannot stop talking about or doing, maybe there is something for you to look into. Not, again, not for everybody. Sometimes it's meant to just be a hobby or something creative that helps you, unleash something. But for most, there is honey in this for you, meaning money, to look into that. But I didn't think like that at the time. I just enjoyed doing it. I wanted to create. After, once I graduated, I was like, I want to create an event. And I did that during COVID, and it was online. I was playing music online through Zoom. We would have some dance parties with my friends, and I would create mixtapes, playlists with GarageBand. Before the class, I did that, and then after the class, I got like proper software and everything. So it has always been there. I just had to allow it to become real instead of just a side hobby. And the more real it got when I invested money in it, I was like, okay, I put money into this. So this is as real as it can get. And investing in myself meant, let's see how far I can go with this. And I will say this, Babs, a lot of things that I do in life, it's really like, let's see how far we can go with this.
Yeah,
Especially if I feel like there is something, it's just that curiosity that gets me going, really.
yeah, yeah. I think it was some days ago. I was telling someone that we have to continuously keep our curiosity like a child. We must have a childlike curiosity.
Oh,
That's the way you see inventions happen. That's where the biggest things happen, where the curiosity is. But once you stop being curious about things, then I think that's the end of life, really. So I agree absolutely with you on that. I'm with you on that.
that
Your
childlike curiosity is what needs to be nurtured all the time, I find.
ab-
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
In You mentioned, I'm just I know you're a resident DJ at the Elements Bar and Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
Elements caught me because I used to go there a few times.
No
Uh,
way.
yeah, anyways, I moved around quite a bit because
Okay.
yeah, so I used to go to that place, and when I saw it, I'm like, oh, interesting. So, but how has that been like for you? Being a resident DJ, I'm kind of thinking, what's the difference with? I know you were working with a startup and all that before. What's kind of like the work, maybe the work culture? Because for me, I don't know much about being a DJ, so I'm curious. Like, how does that happen? Being a resident DJ, do you just go there and tell them, hey, I'm so good. You have to take me. How does that work?
it was, it was not really like that. Um, Interestingly, I got this residency by accident. My best friend was in town. She wanted to go shopping around Union Square, and I was just following her. And then the shopping was over, and she said, "Let's find something French," because Element is it's inside a building called 165. It's owned by a French chef. The whole building. There's a Michelin star restaurant at the top, and they have the lounge, and then the bakery on the ground floor, and
Uh-huh.
another. So it's a whole four-floor building, right? And she's like, oh, let's I want to do something French. And she Googles, we happen to be in the area. She said, look, there is a bar called Element, let's go there. And we arrive at the space, and it's a beautiful environment. We order cocktails, and my best friend, being herself an entrepreneur, she said, like, this is a cool place, like I could totally see you DJ here. And at the time I was not even out there yet, but I thought, yeah, this could be a sexy place, like if there was like a DJ playing lounge music, or like minimal electronic music, it could be really hot. And the manager happened to be there, who's a friend of mine now, but the manager at the time was there, and we just all started to talk. And she was, saying, she's a DJ. And turns out the manager was looking for
Right.
a DJ. Like they were looking for a new strategy to revamp the place. And so bringing a DJ on board was something newish that he was going to introduce to the owners. So we exchanged contact, and interestingly, um, they have a Michelin star restaurant upstairs. And so very impulsively, as soon as the exchange was done, we were like, you know what, like, you have a restaurant upstairs, it's a Michelin star. And we looked at each other, and we said, maybe we should just let's do it, like, let's book, let's have dinner upstairs. And there was this woman who was sitting by herself at the bar, and we talked to her. We were like, hey, are you alone? Would you like to come have dinner with us? And we just brought a whole stranger in our dinner table, and we exchanged. And I think all this to say that the spontaneity and the excitement and the feelings of like saying yes, um, all of this, I think, contributed to why it happened, in my opinion, right? So we had dinner there. It's like an energy exchange, basically. And then it took 2-3 months before this got concrete, because the managers still had to convince the owners to have a DJ there, and change the whole vibe of it. And just like that, it's been almost 2 years that I'm every Saturday playing there. So
Wow.
being a resident DJ at a lounge, restaurant, spot is different than being a DJ at the club, right? It is still, nightlife culture, but there is a little difference between the two. First of all, the hours at lounge and restaurants it's not that late. I mean, you do finish at 11 or 12, but it's not like the clubs. Clubs, I've played there a couple of times whenever there is an event or I'm asked to play there, opening for another DJ. They call me and I do that. But the residencies is it's the regular paycheck, right? It's what helps you. Now, what's interesting is when I started, Babs, when I told people who were DJs themselves that I wanted to do this full time, they all said, "You're going to need a job on the side. There's no way you're going to make a living out of this." And most of them were engineers at Apple or Facebook or lawyers. They all had like full time jobs. For them, DJing was just a side thing, a hobby. For me, when I told them that this is what I wanted to pursue full time, I was almost discouraged by them. And it took me one person, someone that I knew from a long time ago, who's in the music industry, who's like Grammy nominee, who's been doing this his whole life, who was delusional enough to bet on himself like that. He's the one who told me, if you really want to be serious about this and you wholeheartedly, then go all in. And then I told him, well, like all these DJs here, they're already telling me that I need to look for another job while doing this. And I don't know, like maybe this is completely crazy. And he said this thing that will always stay with me. He said, do you want to listen to the people who couldn't do it for themselves and who still need a job on the side? Or do you want to listen to someone who actually did it
Exactly.
successfully, despite the high and lows, who still did it? Who do you want to listen to? And my heart knew that he was the voice I wanted to listen to, because my inner voice was saying that as well. Him saying this to me was just confirmation of what I felt inside, right? So that's why I gave myself 1 year. It was a calculated risk, which is not like a reckless risk, right? You have to be responsible. I'm still level headed. I still enjoy stability. I knew that I had enough money just for 1 year to just make it happen. So I knew that this was a calculated risk. But despite a lot of people ask every day, like, do you know, like people would come and say, how do you live in San Francisco? Like, how do you pay rent? Like, how do you do this? Are you just a DJ? As if like it was not good enough. Um,
Right.
and people forget that I might not have the expenses that some people who live in the heart of San Francisco have, for example. There are many parameters that come in play. But I just did this. I just took a bet on myself for 1 year, and it worked. And then eventually, another good advice that came was, maybe you should look for residencies at hotels that they have bars and lounge. And so I was like, okay, I'll keep that in my head. And again, the word of mouth happened. Luckily, I never had to try so hard. People just found me and offered me residencies, which is unheard of for me. I couldn't
Interesting.
even believe it myself. And this is why, and again, the journey of people, it's going to be different for everyone. But I just know in my heart that when I am in the space that I'm meant to be, doing what I'm meant to be, somehow people come and find me. My only job is to put myself out there, to
Yep.
make those playlists, if I look at the SoundCloud playlist that I started with today, I think this is shit, right? But like my DJ teacher said, put it out there. Don't even think about if it's good or bad. You're going to look back at it years later and see how far you've come from. So don't be afraid
Absolutely.
to make mistakes. Don't wait for things to be perfect. Just put it out there. And I just did it. And somehow, you know, people find you, whoever is meant to be in that space and who values what you have to offer will call you. And it served me well.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I was just, I was pretty curious about residency thing, because I know it's not a, we see people who are DJs, but being residents at clubs and lounges is not something that is so common. So I was like, ah, that's so interesting. But like you
Yeah.
said, uh, and I'm one of those people that believe that every profession or occupation or whatever, there's people who are successful in it.
Yeah.
So, if it's farming, if it's entertainment, whatever. So
Yeah.
it's not actually the profession. I think it's the people, right,
Yeah.
that make it successful. So,
Absolutely.
those that say, oh, you can't do it or you can't, I think it's, just a reflection of what they can't do,
And
right?
that's
I
why
think
you're
it's
not supposed to take everybody's advice, right? Like you don't have to take, you can listen to it, but take whatever feels right in your heart. And this is where I think it's so important for us to develop skills of listening to our body and our instinct, because there will always be, your mind will always find justification for XYZ. If somebody tells me you're completely delusional, how are you going to live in the city? It's so expensive. My mind will find all the reason to validate that point of view, right?
absolutely.
But it took the voice of my heart and to be discerning enough, and also my friend who said that, to it almost amplified my own voice inside. It was not delusion, it was just a knowing, and this is where also surrounding yourself with the right people comes in play, whether it's my
Yeah,
best friend of that person, or I have like what we call the soul tribes, right? Like people who knows, there's a connection and there's a resonance, right? And something that, and what they do, they don't tell you what to do, they just confirm what you already feel inside that you doubted, but they're telling you, yeah, this is, you're not crazy, like you heard, you felt that in your heart already. It's good to surround yourself with those people. Yeah. And here's the thing, Babs, again, being an artist is not the stable job. If you don't work one day, you don't have that paycheck coming in. So there's also a level of risk that comes with it. I've had residencies that ended as well after 6 months or after 3 months. But somehow, having gone through what I went through and overcoming what I've overcame, it's either, it's giving me this trust that, okay, if this door closed, it's because it's making room for something else. Whether it's going to come to me or I'm going to create, I'll be okay. And this sense of trust mixed with, again, calculated risk, a little bit of planning of like, okay, I can afford not to have that residency anymore for X amount of time based on what I have in my bank account, to or based on whatever inspiration I have, how much time it might come to fruition. You keep these things in the back of your head, but that there's also a certain level of trust in the timing of it all that comes in play for me. Again, that's how it worked
absolutely.
best.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I wanted to, yeah, I wanted to, kind of like talk briefly on, what you've been through,
Hmm.
uh, and more from the angle of, um, how you were able to overcome, all of, the time when, your husband passed and all that. Because the reality is, whether somehow, some way, this is an experience that everybody's gonna have. It's just
Yeah.
different time. So, like someone said, you're gonna, I can tell you how risky life is. No one's gonna get out alive. So that's how risky it is. So, but from your own, you know, your experience, what are the things that you think, you know, pulled you through that time? What just for someone who will be listening out there that would probably be in the same situation at this moment.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say the people that surrounded me at that time, as soon as they found out, my, again, my core tribe, my close circle, they just hovered over me at that time, protecting me, they helped me make decisions, whether it's planning the funeral or looking at paperwork. This is this is something that you don't see coming. Like when you lose someone so close to you, you start to take care of things that you never thought you had to take care of. Um,
Mm.
so I was lucky enough to have a tribe around me that protected me and that helped me make decisions and supported me even emotionally, not just physically with the organizations of things, but just who were present around me to process what was happening. Which, to be honest, when it's happened, it took me. I think now I'm starting to emotionally process these things, right? Because before that, you're just in survival mode. You have so many things to take care of. I will also say that my my spirituality that was already existing helped me process a lot. I don't think I would have made it this far if it wasn't for some kind of spiritual practice, call it prayer, meditation. If it wasn't for this, I don't think I would have navigated this as gracefully as I did, as I'm still doing also, by the way. And also just talking about it, Babs, to be honest, like being um I find it so interesting. Like you said, this is the one thing that is guaranteed in life, that we know it's going to happen. We just don't know when, we just don't know how, but we know it's going to happen. How there's, I find there is a lack of language about that still. It's very taboo, or it's something that people push away. And we also live in a system where, you know, you have to show up at work every day as if you are immortal. Like otherwise it's inconvenient. If everybody was aware of its own mortality day to day, I don't think it would be to the advantage of the system. Right? So uh I personally think that talking about this, talking about death, talking about grief, about our feelings, taking the time to process what's happening inside helps us live better. To me, that is the key. Like what I went through talking about this, finding people who've experienced this, who are dealing with grief. And it's grief doesn't just happen through death, right? It can be any kind of change, whether it's a divorce or job loss, anything, a move. There is a level of change that we're not prepared for. And I think that normalizing a language around that or conversations around that helps people make better decision, because we know the more you're aware that this could end any moment, because my husband didn't die from a health problem. He was healthy. It's just a heart attack that happened during a work trip, right? So you don't know. There's
No,
this
this
thing,
thing.
you just don't know when it's going to come to you. And especially in this culture of longevity, where people are like biohacking left and right, which is good. I mean, I'm all for the progress of that. But at some point, it's gonna happen when it's meant to happen, and you have to accept this. Losing him was one of the biggest tragedy of my life, because I've always feared death. I've always feared losing my loved ones. I was one of those people who said I would rather die first than experience the loss of a parent or a loved one. And I remember when he was alive, I would even tell him, if you die, I die, because that's how in love we were. That's how devoted of a wife I was. I also thought that, you know, if tomorrow, because the logical thing is, you know, you lose a grandparent first and then parents, and that, you know, there's an order. I thought, okay, at least he's there with me. If tomorrow I lose my parents, he will be by my side helping me overcome this. So God had different plans, and the one person that that not only healed me and loved me in a way that I've never experienced before. I lost physically that person. I still today there are moments where I'm like, what is this life? Like, what is this? Is this real? Like, is this real?
Cannot
And
imagine.
yeah, but there is also, with that pain comes a lot of beauty, and it takes growth to see the beauty in that, because if it wasn't for this, I wouldn't be who I am today. I wouldn't um experience love and life, the depth of it. You know, it's I learned how to connect with with the souls in a way that is not like haunting or scary or like, oh, she hasn't moved. No, 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 it's more this thing of oneness that people talk about. um I feel it. uh and so there's a lot of beauty that comes with it, and this is what life is about anyway, right? I've always prayed for joy and ease through and throughout. I don't I've always prayed for joy and ease, but life doesn't really work like that. Your job is to like we said, be adaptable as much as you can, and hone into joy and pleasure so that it helps, overcome hardships. But the reality is that you will have to learn to dance between both, otherwise what's the point of life, right? So
True. True.
yeah, but the right people, and also having a certain awareness of life, and my spiritual practice, and also, Babs, feeling my feelings, allowing to feel my feelings instead of pushing them aside, is what helped me
Yeah, yeah.
through my biggest breakthroughs as well. And a lot of people, I've met widows who, right after their partner died, they just went to work right away because they needed the distraction. And it's hard
Distraction of doing something
to
else.
yeah, and you would be surprised just in general that how many people would rather be busy and stay busy so that they don't have to think about what they went through in life or their childhood, their emotions. They would rather just drown themselves in work. But the reality is that eventually this thing that you've pushed aside is going to come out through physical pain
True.
or through depression, or who knows. It's just a matter of time.
True.
And for
Manifested
me
somehow.
being yeah, and for me being healthy is such a priority that I know that my health is going to be connected to how much I process my emotions, and how much fulfillment I find in my life. So I make sure my only discipline is that it's to listen to my body, do what it needs, have the space for it, and then the more space I create within, the more I free myself from whatever is holding me back, the more I can create newer experience, better experience that are more in alignment with what I'm meant to do. Because that's the thing. I don't know when I'm gonna die. The mortality of my own mortality got real. Like I remember I said, let me, God, do what I'm meant to be doing before I leave. Right? Like, let whatever, somehow I'm here. Somehow I'm still here. As much as I said to my late husband, if you die, I'm gonna die. As much as I didn't want to live life when he passed away, because I didn't find any reason to continue. Somehow I'm still here. So there must be a reason why we're here. So let's
Yeah.
figure that out. So I'm talking to myself. Let's figure that out. Let's go in all in. You know, and that looks. How does that look like? It looks like investing in yourself with time and money.
And I'm with you 100%. I kind of like, wanted to touch on that because, I know there's someone out there who would need to hear that. I personally, and I think, like I said, we all maybe not as close, but either ways going to experience it. Personally, I think, people die, they go to a better place. That's what I think. I think, part of the trauma or the issues that come is the fact that we kind of see it as something that is bad. But I think there's a way to look at it as something that is not bad,
Mm,
something that is meant to, something that is
yeah.
bound to happen either ways, because they say life is a journey, right? We're passing through this journey to somewhere else. So there's always a better place. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just, wanted to touch on that briefly. I know we could, speak for so long, but
This
really
could be
run out
another
of time.
episode, right? Of like life and death. This could be totally another experience.
So just before, as we close out a little bit, I wanted you to, if you have some, because I know you're very, much into, personal development and all that. I don't know, do you have like maybe, personal development tips, for, let me say young ladies, and even
Mm,
guys, but I'm sure just based on those that will connect, especially in a world today where, everybody seems to be running around, chasing this money. Some people don't even care what they do to make
mm.
that money. But what would be your, sort of tips for people generally?
Oh my God, there's so much I want to say. I'll say whatever comes to my mind. It's funny because a few days ago I met a group of people at Elements, actually, a group of they worked in a startup. They came to San Francisco for a training program, and they grabbed a drink at Elements, and they were vibing with the music. And at the end, I just talked to them, and they asked me about how come you became a DJ, sorry, how come you became a DJ. And I said, I come from the startup culture as well. And then one day I was like, I can't do this anymore, and shifted my life completely. And it was fascinating to see how all of them felt like they wanted to end their startup path. Like they were like, we want to say fuck it as well, and just, screw it, let me start over. And so I find it very interesting. Also in my culture, I meet a lot of people who have very high positions, engineers, um, who make a good living, but who are unhappy in their life. They're always, they live their life as if it's a checklist of, okay, I got the job, now it's time for a husband, now it's time for kids, and all of this. And you would think, like, all this intelligence that you carry, and you still cannot see how, your choices, like, you listen to your parents, but your parents don't know any better for you. Like, they come from a different school of thought and generation. And what if doing them a service would be to actually not listen to all of that, but actually show them that there is another way. I know that my choices as a DJ, um, my when my parents see me now, they see me happy with my choice. I think it changed in their own brain that, oh, maybe we were wrong of putting all that pressure. Because I went from being the ideal daughter-in-law who went to business school, who married at, I think I was 26, that age. I went from that to losing everything because we were about to sell the business. We were about to buy a home. Within weeks, he passed away, right? So I went from being that ideal daughter-in-law to now being a widow in her 30s who's a DJ and a producer. I mean, that's something I still can't wrap my mind around. And that's something that I'm sure a lot of parents, Indian parents, would think, oh, this is crazy, you need to look for a job. But I'm like, no, this is actually my biggest liberation. And seeing how my parents are witnessing my evolution, and seeing how much more at peace I am, even though we don't know money wise, or the future of, because they worry so much about stability and money, but they see how happy I am, and it's doing something to them. And I think it's helping them. Even with my younger sister, if tomorrow she chooses to marry outside of our culture, or a path that is not the typical path of lawyer, doctor, engineer, they're gonna, I'm sure, welcome that, as long as she's happy. Because at the end of the day, you just want your kids to be happy. So I find it interesting how a lot of people are still caught in those things of, I need to do the job, and then I get to get married, and I have to do this. What if you just listen to what you truly want to do and follow that? And it takes a certain courage, and it takes strength to go against the grain, and having to, you don't have to convince them, you just have to show them that it's possible to live differently. I think my mother now, she sees me, and she's living through me now, and she's feeling feelings of freedom, of like, you know what, I want to travel with you, take me with you to the clubs, like, I want to experience this. So it's opening, you're healing your the generational trauma through the changes that you make for yourself. So don't be afraid of that, be more daring, because this is one life, you're not going to make it alive anyway. So might as well have fun, and do the right thing with it, right?
Absolutely.
So that's one advice. Also, be very discerning with the people that you surround yourself with. It's important, um, to you the heart knows. And more recently on my Instagram, I posted a thing about listening to your body, because on the day-to-day, we're so cerebral with everything that we are very disconnected to the other parts of our body, right? And so I think it's important to find practices, whether it's exercising or meditation, something that helps you be in touch with your heartbeat. because this will really activate so many different insights that will actually help you live a more fulfilling life. You just have to be disciplined about that. So being discerning of these voice, being discerning of the people you surround yourself with, all of these little things, you would be surprised by how impactful it is on the big spectrum of your life.
Wow. I couldn't have said it better. It's so interesting. I feel like, well, I'm sure I'm going to be listening to this over and over again. I think as much as, well, let me say the way I see what you just said now is more of, it's high level, but it touches on the most important parts of personal development, because just being able to connect with oneself and understanding one's body is really what personal development is about, because
Yeah.
that's what we achieve with personal development. So I must thank you so much for those kind words,
And Vibes,
Maite.
one last thing I want to say before, for all the entrepreneurs out there who are trying to make something for themselves, I would also say this is something that a mentor told me. Whatever you cannot stop talking about, do that. Follow that. Use all the social media platform instead of just scrolling and you know consuming it. Use it to your advantage, because you have to see yourself as a personal brand. You are a brand. As much as you say I am only talking about what I love, yeah, but what if there was something more to it? Maybe look at yourself as a brand and utilize everything that is out there for free to your advantage, so that you can think of impact. uh, you
Mm,
know I'm not
yeah.
the most strategic person. I've always acted upon instinct, but my intention has always been, if I can help one person, let me reach that person. And the more you think of the value that you can provide to people, the more you realize that it's important to utilize whatever tool is available around you to that advantage, to support that value
Yeah,
of yours.
makes
Yeah.
sense. Okay, I'm sure we're definitely going to be having this conversation again. Although before we go, there's a
Hmm.
little ritual that we do. I usually ask the last guest to write an advice for the next guest, and then I know you're not presently in the studio with me, so maybe you're going to text me your advice for the next guest, and I'm going to write it down. But the last guest, who is Snapcode of Africa, says, don't hold back in anything you do. That was his advice for
Ooh.
you.
Ooh, I
Don't
felt
hold.
that.
Interesting, huh? So I'll be waiting for your own advice for the next guest, and I'll be reading it to the next guest also. You permit me to write it down for you in your handwriting.
Absolutely. And I'll write it down, what you just said, that advice, I'll write it down and have it on my desk somewhere for sure.
Oh. So final thoughts, any book recommendations, anything you listen to, that you think we can tap into.
Wow, so many. One of them I will say, The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle is one of
Okay.
those books that you open and you're like, whoa, so much truth coming. Power of Now is one of the books that changed my life. And it's something that you can read easily. I recommend that. Start with that. It's Yeah, I'll just say that book for now.
Oh,
Yeah.
the power of now.
I do have a list though, but maybe we can
Okay.
go through it another time for sure. But The Power of Now, start with
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna put that in the description too, so that anybody who hears this can grab a copy. So Maite, I'm definitely gonna have you come around again, and there's still so much to talk about. I think I have a topic already.
You did?
Uh, yeah, I do. It's interesting because these types of conversations, you don't get to have them with everyone.
Yeah.
I'm talking about business, talking about this, but sometimes we need to talk about the real things, the things that really matter.
Yeah.
Because eventually, you may have all the money, have everything, but then what's the purpose?
Yeah.
You know, and for someone
Yeah.
like me, that's why I, try to do my things, because I believe that as long as you can add value to people, one
Yeah.
way or the other, that is what really matters. Some people will say, "Oh, I just want to take care of myself alone. I don't want to think about anybody," but which is okay too. But I think that service, having that service to many people, is what can lead us to greatness.
Yeah,
And
but I also believe that it's okay if you want money. Like this is another thing. It's not just about serving, though. It's also like it's okay to admit I want to be rich. I want to live a luxury, but you have to also ask yourself the right question. What does luxury looks like to you, really? To me, I know that the definition has changed over the years. Where now my peace, having the time to rest, those are luxuries that a lot of people can afford, right? So asking yourself the right questions about that, and also personal development is so connected to the success of a business, because you spend the majority of your time at work, right?
so,
So you need to make sure that the engine is working just fine, so that so it's all connected. And I cannot wait to have more conversations on these things, and to see, hopefully not in 10 years, but sooner, how much
so
growth happened between this call and the next.
of course. So now, well, thank you so much, and I wish you an amazing day ahead. It's been amazing for me talking to you, and of course, thank you for honoring me because
No,
uh, I know I reached out and then you made yourself available, and for me, that is what I believe friendship and knowing people is about. So thank you so
absolutely.
much for being you.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you for making my day. Thank you for doing what you do. Thank you for showing up and helping all the entrepreneurs out there. I'm very proud of you, Babs, too.
All right, mate. Take care.
Take
All right.
care. Bye
Yeah.
bye.